All right, guys. So we had a pretty eventful week this past week, especially with tariffs, and there's also some things that have kind of been going under the radar, which I kind of see as like a political divide on both sides, which I don't think is going to raise its ugly head until 27, late 2026. And then additionally, there's going to be some things we're going to go over with the Christians in Nigeria that are facing some serious persecution. So, all that being said, that's going to be a good synopsis of what we're going to cover today. It's a lot. It may not sound like a lot, but it's going to be a lot. So either way, tariffs go into effect. Trump puts out a list of 40% on this country, 80% on this country. Typically, at least what I was seeing, the trend that he was doing is if Vietnam was charging us 90%, that we would do a reciprocal tariff of 40%. So essentially, we were around 50% of whatever tariff that they were charging us. So what did that end up doing? Well, there's a lot of capitulation from these other countries, including Israel, including Vietnam, including these other countries that are now coming to the table saying, hey, we're willing to talk. And Trump doubled down. He raised tariffs to 84% on China. And then from there, about 75 countries so far have come forward to Trump. And as of Wednesday, Trump announces that he's actually going to lower tariffs for those 75 countries that came to him. It's kind of, Trump, it is an ego thing, but at the same time, he likes to show progress. And it's also a very good way for him to now lower the tariffs to the 75 countries that have come forward to him. So of those countries, tariffs will be lowered to around 10%. Which is very, very minimal compared to the tariffs that were imposed before or looking like they were going to be imposed. So yeah, that's where we're at. It's really, really exciting, to be completely honest, because now what Trump has kind of done is he's backing China and the EU into a corner. I think that's kind of his main goal. So these 75 countries are going to be around a 10% tariff, and China will now be raised to 125% tariff. So we're really just beating China down. I mean, I actually saw, who was it on Twitter that I was seeing? It was a big name. It wasn't like a little guy. Pretty influential as well. Man, I wish I could remember his name. But either way, he wanted a 400% tariff on China. So, and I honestly.
You know what his name was?
I forget. You can look it
up.
Oh,
bro, I know it. I just lost it.
Put it on Grok.
No, I know it. Hang on.
Okay.
It's Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Worldwide.
Kevin O'Leary. That's who it was. Yep. Kevin O'Leary wanted a 400% tariff,
Sorry,
which is
Mr. Wonderful, not Mr. Worldwide.
Interesting. Miss Worldwide's our friend. But no. Anyway, pretty cool stuff coming out of that. What's interesting though, primarily, is we're going to 125% tariff on China. They haven't come to the table yet, so Trump may just continue to raise their tariffs and go easy on everybody else at China's expense. So I think because China has showed no remorse as far as bending the knee at all, he probably is going to do the same to the EU, in which he's like, all right, everybody else gets a free pass, but we're just going to destroy the EU and China out of just... part of it is ego, but at the other time, the other side of things, Trump feels like the U.S. has been taken advantage of, which it is true. We see now that China has really taken advantage of our industrial absence over the past 30, 40 years, to where Cody was even looking at a map earlier that was showing exactly who the main trading partner of these countries are. So for instance, like China has almost the entire planet as their main trading partner. Yep, you can see that. The only countries that we actually trade with more than China is Venezuela, which is interesting. I'm actually surprised by that. Colombia, looks like Ecuador, Central America, and Canada. And some in Europe, like France, Italy, England, and the Scandinavian countries. Besides that, the entire planet is more reliant on trade from China. So this is a big drastic change because back in 2000, it looks like China only had like Iran, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, about 4 or 5 countries in Africa, and Cuba, and Papua New Guinea. Like Papua New Guinea. I mean, who trades with them anyway? And Vietnam.
It's crazy how like China trades with all of those people now.
Yeah.
All the way down there.
Yep, they're number one trading partner for all those countries now. All of Asia. They dominate all of Africa. Can you zoom in? The only
are the little 2 countries
that are
inside
that are landlocked in South Africa.
in South Africa.
Yep. Besides that, the entire continent of Africa is a bigger trading partner. Even Eastern Europe, all of Eastern Europe, and that includes countries like Poland, Greece, Turkey, Croatia, Bulgaria. It looks like possibly even Hungary. So anyway, really, really interesting in all of South America, besides 4 to 5 countries in South America. So anyway, really, really interesting. It's going to be rough. It's going to be kind of difficult to really hedge them out. Now, what's one way you could do it? Well, you could just crush their economy. I mean, you could just do that. So, we'll see what happens. China, if America uses other means, such as military, to say, hey, NATO, you better stop trading with China or put immense amounts of tariffs on China, or else we're going to leave NATO or something like that, we could do that. And we would immediately neutralize European trade for them, Middle East trade for them, and we could probably start to chip away at Africa, but it's not such a big deal anyway because Africa, I mean, they're just a very poor continent. So if we just can seize back Asia, which a lot of big countries in Asia are NATO involved, as well as Europe and South America, well, then we've really taken a lot back. So anyway, it's going to be really interesting. We'll see what happens. I don't know what the economic implications are going to be. The S&P 500, which is just a collection of the top 500 top 500 companies in the U.S., was down around 10%, and I was like, "Ooh, man, it's taking a hit." Today, since Trump announced that he's negotiating with these 75 countries and is only going to do a 10% tariff, the S&P 500 went up 9% today. So at least the last time I checked, as of Wednesday. So we could see that the total change with these tariff announcements are like 2% dip in the S&P 500. So very, very minimal. And it's interesting. To me, that's just fascinating. I did not think that would actually be a thing. Cody's getting completely blinded by
and I just let out a big burp, so hopefully
he didn't catch it.
Like an internal burp.
Man, it's like
I forgot to get my sunglasses, my gulag shades.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, we do it for you guys, our 3 listeners.
Our 1.5 listeners. But no, so yeah, I guess we're going to go to Christendom. What's going on with Christendom, Cody?
Well, from what I can tell, it has been kind of a quiet week, per se. Still, there are reports on X saying that there was 52 Christians killed in Nigeria. Kind of take that with a grain of salt because I don't see any large news outlets reporting that.
Because the corporate media would never lie or not report on Christians being dead.
Definitely not. But, in all reality, you're right. Sometimes it's not always going to be highlighted. So these could be very well true, and they probably are. But I just want to have that little innuendo in there.
These were Islamic militants, right? That are just
we kind of covered these, I think, 2 weeks ago, probably.
Yeah.
When I think it was 70 Christians that were beheaded.
Because what's happening is that the Islamists are in the north of the country, and the Christians are primarily in the south. So you actually can kind of see there's like a line in Nigeria, and the Islamists are just continuously taking more and more. I mean, they used to only be in like a couple square miles of the north, and then now they've taken half the country, probably more than half the country geographically wise. But Christianity is still the number one religion there. But
in Nigeria?
Yeah, I believe. Fact check me on that, but I believe it is. There's a lot of people in Nigeria. Nigeria has a massive, massive population. People don't really think about it, but Nigeria alone has hundreds of millions of people in it. It's actually like comparable to our population. I think it's like 100 million less than here or something. Not Nigeria population. Let's see exactly.
Islam.
Yep, 230 million plus. Wait, what?
Making up slightly over half of the population.
No!
Estimates vary, but according to a 2018 CIA World Factbook report, approximately 53.5% of Nigerians are Muslim, while 45.9% are Christian, and 0.6% follow other beliefs. That was as of 2018.
Dude, that's crazy. That's just insane. I mean, because I'm looking here.
Now,
Then
according to
I
this,
saw another survey says 54% of the nation's Christian.
Well, that's what it's saying. A 2022 Afrobarometer
that's the
survey,
one I'm seeing.
however, found 54.2% Christian and 45.5% Muslim, indicating a closer split. Yeah. So I'd be curious to see how much, because
it's 50-50. That's what it sounds like.
It's kind of what it is, because you got to see. I'd be curious to see how many each survey polled, per se. Like, was one.
And where are they polling?
And that's the thing,
right? Are they? Yeah. If they're polling in the South, you're going to get more Christians. If you're polling in the North, you're going to get more Muslims. So, and I assume they try to split it, but, yeah, no. I mean, the biggest populations are in the South, so that's why, like, if you go to like the capital of Nigeria, it's primarily Christian, right? So, like, it's kind of thought, but yeah, no. I mean, Islam's going like crazy. You can see. I mean, it's 50-50. That used to not even be a question. And there's 230 million people in Nigeria.
You know why the CIA reported that in 2018?
Why?
Because it was, what was his name?
Julian Assange.
No, the guy that ran the CIA for Trump.
Oh, Daddy Pompeo.
Yeah, Mike Pompeo. That's right. He was trying to prop up the Muslims.
Dude, freaking Pompeo. Talk about a dirty slime ball, man. Dirty slime ball. CIA fact book. I love the CIA fact book.
I love it too. I mean, there's so much information about the world.
90% propaganda, but I love it.
We like good propaganda in our life, you know?
Yeah, you got to have some propaganda every so often.
Let's see if I can find Nigeria here. Let me just search it.
He's searching. And, oh, well, be careful.
Yeah, I got to be careful.
That was almost,
I got to be careful.
We can't, good thing we're not live. We get canceled.
Oh, okay. I guess maybe this here. All right.
Now, to be fair, do you know about this country in Africa, Cody? I want you to pull up a new tab, okay? And I want to get a live reaction to Cody. Type in Niger.
Yeah, I do know this.
You do know that country?
Yeah.
Yeah, search it.
It's Niger.
Yeah.
You pronounce it.
Niger, sometimes.
Yeah.
That's crazy, bro. That should be
$1,100 flight to get there?
Yeah, from D.C. Nobody goes there, bro.
Population of 26 million.
You get to the airport, you try to say it, and you get canceled.
They send you back.
It's not even worth it.
They don't let you through the border.
You can't even get employed anymore. They're like, where'd you go? You're like, I'd rather not say.
All right, let's see if I can. Okay, you can continue. I just wanted to see if I can. If they had any updated information about the religions here.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. Yep, 2 million more males than females there. It's pretty crazy.
Ethnic groups, okay, religions. Okay, they have 53.5%. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, so they have
with Roman Catholic,
10% Roman
other
Catholic.
Christian.
Yep. Okay.
So it's still the 2018 study.
Oh, okay. That might be where the other one's pulling it from, ChatGPT or whatnot. But
yeah.
Hey, it is what it is. I mean, so it's like 50-50 in Nigeria, and it's really sad because it's like, I mean, that used to be a predominantly Christian nation. And then what happens is that you have the Islamists coming in just killing people and making people scared. Admittedly, these are lukewarm Christians that will then convert, because it's like, well, I mean, I'd rather not get attacked. But
that's kind of sad. Sorry,
duress.
I'm not really paying attention to what you said, so I apologize. But that's sad. Like 65 years and over is only 3.4% of their population. So
you're young, very young nation. Very young nation.
Well, I mean, look, 40% is from 0 to 14 years.
Look at their population pyramid.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's crazy.
That isn't. I mean, that's what you call a powerhouse, right? Because look at that, 0 to 4 years old. They have so many. So they're going to be a massive population.
If they can stay alive long enough.
A workforce. Well, but the honest truth is they were just having tons of kids. That's what's been happening. Like, look at the
their median age, 19 years old.
Yeah. Yep. That's how young they are. So that means 50% of people are younger than 19. 50%. Like, what's the median age in the USA? I'll look it up real quick. I mean, it's got to be really just horrific. Median.
Their birth rate is.
Yeah, the USA is 38.7 years old. So 39 years old is the USA's.
So Niger has the highest birth rate.
Does it?
We were just looking at this. Let me go back.
Be careful what you say, my man.
I'm watching. Don't you worry, brother. Unlike you, I don't have to be careful because I don't say it.
All Muslims. This dude's the amount of fake news he spouts.
Let me see here. 3.6%. No. Birth rate. Here we go.
Yeah. That's what we want.
Dang. Almost 50 births in 1,000 people. They're popping them out.
They are popping them out. And only 9 deaths per 1,000 people. That's what you call a growing civilization. Look up, let's just look up what's a place that's Italy. Look up Italy. Let's just see. Let's see what their statistics are. Because, I mean, this will show us a very, very stark contrast. I think you're only looking at
This is birth rate.
Oh, this is birth rate? Oh, they're going to be like near the bottom. Okay, maybe not the bottom. Yeah, they are. They are.
Ukraine's the bottom for birth rate.
Well, yeah, because they're in war. Yeah, Italy. Click on Italy.
Dang.
There. Korea and Japan are just horrific, but I want to see what a European country is. So Europeans, here we go. The median age is 48 years old. Over 48 years old.
7 births in 1,000 people.
7 births, and their death rate 11. So they're a dying population.
Yeah,
they're dying.
As of 2024, look, they're negative 0.08%.
Even worse though, because look at the deaths. So what's happening is that their immigration is coming in, right? At least offsetting it a little bit, you know? That's the only thing that's making sure that their population is only slowly shrinking. But, yeah. I mean, if every 1,000 people you're losing, what is that, 3, 4? No. Yeah, that's 4 people they're losing. Over 4, 4.1. So, you know, they have 7 births per 1,000 people, and they have 11 deaths per 1,000 people.
Well, I shouldn't be laughing, but Ukraine has the highest death rate.
I mean, that makes sense. Let's see. 18 deaths per 1,000. Yep.
Wow.
And a birth rate only 6 per 1,000 people. Yep. Man.
Moral of the story is, Caleb,
don't fight a war.
You're right.
Or else you all die. And not only that, but also people stop having babies too. You're in wartime. So
yeah.
It's like the worst of all worlds. So anyway, horrific times. Europe is dying. You whiteys need to start having babies. If you don't, you'll go extinct. But this is the way that God made the world. So don't disobey the Bible. But it is what it is.
There's a lot of different.
Be fruitful and multiply, my brother. Be fruitful and multiply.
Well, obviously, also the Lord didn't want us to be going out to war with each other. So
that's facts. That's facts. Well, till Israel came along, then he was like, "Go get them Amalekites, those Philistines,
all the ites except for Israel." But
yeah, how about you know what's interesting? If we were to look up, oh man, I'm completely blanking on what I was going to say, but I really wanted to look at the number. It's okay. We can look it up. We've kind of go over the topic a lot, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with just the nation in general. How many abortions? I gotta know. How many abortions are held in Europe? How many abortions in Europe total? 2024, 2023. How many abortions in Europe per year? Here we go. Yeah, just do per year. Here we go. Let's go. All right, Cody, guess real quick. What do you think? What do you think it's gonna be?
In Europe?
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 200,000.
That's all?
You think?
Bro, it's more than that.
Well, dude, I was
That's high. We've looked this up before.
in Europe.
Remember?
I don't remember doing Europe.
We looked it up in the world, and we started breaking it up because there was like
that's
70
true.
some million in the world. So
That's
we're like,
true.
where's this at?
Yeah, like
kinda
what
deal.
the heck's
So,
going on? Yeah.
the U.S. was still higher, but Eastern Europe, according to Grok, is 2.17 million abortions per year. Northern Europe is 0.18 or
It's a total of 3.2
186,000.
mil. 3.2 mil.
Southern Europe is roughly 464,000. Western Europe is 377.
Dude, the abortion rate is approximately 29 per 1,000 women. What is happening? That is so many abortions.
Dude, France reported 234,000 abortions in 2022.
Man.
What's their population? Do you know?
It's like
Roughly?
80 million. It's less, but it's
Not good numbers, brother. Not good numbers.
I think it's 80 million. 70 million, my bad.
Just between France, Germany, England, and Spain, you get over 600,000 abortions in 1 year.
Good Lord, dude. That's just so horrible. So anyway, I mean, yeah. So you're not having babies, you're also killing the babies that you are having. So it's like, yeah, shocking. Your society will collapse. And now they have to import people that are just not aligned with their culture, you know? Like, I mean, you go to a place, a culture like anywhere in Africa, and you can just see, you know, there's just not this focus on infrastructure, roads, you know, I mean, aviation, you know, architecture, anything, right? Comparative to places like Europe, where you can look and you could say, oh yeah, this is what they've built over the past 2,000 years, or, you know, 1,500 years. So, yeah, anyway, it's just really sad. Really, really sad. We're definitely seeing a decline of a nation. Continent, not even nation. Each nation's dying on its own, but it's also now a continent. You know, it's kind of interesting. I think that might be one of the biggest coping mechanisms with the EU, is that the EU kind of feels like, you know, each nation was just so destroyed after World War II that they kind of like felt in order to have any power, they kind of had to band together, right? Because their young men all got killed. They had half of Europe get taken over by the Soviets and by the communists, and that was horrific. So I kind of feel like they, after all of that, they kind of felt like, all right, we need to like all band together because our population's crashing. We're killing tons of babies per year. We are not replacing because we're not having babies, and the babies we are having, we're killing. So yeah, it's just really, really sad. And now you have mass immigration, and I kind of feel like their viewpoint is, all right, well, if we come as an EU, as an entire Europe to the world stage, well, then we have 17 million in GDP, right? And that's what they can throw around. So, but you know, that's not always what it's about. It's not just about, you know, because it's about your weakest link, you know. And if you have a ton of countries that are really, really weak, you're going to be in big, big trouble. So, anyway, anything to add on that, Cody, before we jump into the political landscape?
Abortions is wrong, and you should be ashamed. But
Yeah.
Jesus loves you still.
Get
and
the
he
rocks.
can redeem you.
Oh, yeah. Two different messages. I was like, get the rocks. No, I mean, I do. And that's kind of the sad part, is that it's not even the girls that I'm blaming. You know, it's the institutions, it's the guys that are like pushing for it. It's all these old people, you know, that are actively pushing for it. I don't really blame the young girls because they're in a hard situation, and then the older women in their life are like, oh, just kill it. You know, like, oh, it's an easy situation. And, you know, for them, initially, I mean, if you were to just raise a girl and not mention abortion, and then she were to get pregnant, and then you would be like, oh, yeah, let's have an abortion. And she'd be like, what's that? I'd be like, oh, well, they just, you know, they get rid of it. Like, what do you mean? Well, they you know, they kill it. That way you don't have to have it. It's like, that would be morally reprehensible. But because these white old women, and just women in general, these older women are just indoctrinating these kids and these poor girls into thinking it's totally fine, that's what happens.
And there's also the idea of it's not killing because it's not. It's
a clump of cell.
Yeah,
That's what it's saying.
they've created a stigma around it or destigmatified it as it's it's not a human life. It's not a human being. It's just a clump of cells. So
It's healthcare.
it doesn't mean anything. It's your body, your choice. You're not doing any harm to anything. So
They've detached themselves from it.
yeah,
And it's like,
it's
this
a
is
real
not.
responsibility.
Yeah. Like Bill Burr actually had a really good bit on it.
Till he became a faggot.
Yeah. Oh, he's totally retarded. He married a really, really liberal woman. I mean, a black woman that's just so liberal you can't even comprehend it. It's like, what happened? But he actually had a good joke about abortion, and his whole thing was like, he's like, I understand both sides. He's like, I'm pro-abortion. Well, because his wife is into killing babies, so it is what it is. But
He's not a real man.
He's not a real man. No, I mean the fact that you wouldn't stand up for that, but he did have a good joke in which he's like, but I understand that you kind of are killing a baby. Like, at least he admitted that. At least he was like, you kind of are. Then he's like, I'm fine with it. It's like, that's even worse. Somehow that's even worse. But he was like, imagine I'm baking a cake, and I put a cake in the oven, and then you come in and open up, right when I put it in, open up the oven and just chuck it across the room. He's like, you destroyed my cake. And you're like, well, it wasn't a cake yet. It was batter, He's like, I don't care. It was going to be a cake, and the timers, So I don't know. It was just a good bit in which to really illustrate, like, it kind of is a cake. And you kind of are killing it because it's destined to become this unless you intervene, right? Even if you're malnourished, the baby is still going to develop, right? So it's going to take a medical procedure to kill the baby. So anyway, horrific, terrible. I'm against it. Haram. And, like I said, I don't blame the young girls, though. I blame the old people. I blame them for normalizing it. It's the same thing with LGBTQ, right? They've completely normalized it. And it's just like I think we mentioned this last time, but now young men, a 20-year-old is now 10 to 15 points more conservative than a 75-year-old man. That's crazy. That is a cultural... I mean, that's kind of a cultural revolution if you think about it, because in history... At least modern history, well, I mean, I would say more than modern, but at least I'm only familiar with modern history to say this, that, the old people have been the old conservatives, and then the young people have been the liberals. Just how it is. Because as you get older, your tolerance for risk goes down based on investments, based on you getting ready to retire. It's just normal, right? And not only that, but you also acquire more assets over your life, right? Because you have way more time to work. Your earning potential goes up because your value goes up. So old people have a lot more money than young people. And guess what? If you're young and you have no money, you're probably more likely to be a socialist, which you are, compared to an old person who's like, I've worked my whole life. My earning potential has been high for, from the age of 40 to 60. So I've made a lot of money now, right? And now I'm able to retire. I don't want to just divvy it all up now. So anyway, your tolerance also for just risk in general is much, much lower. So anyway, but now we're seeing the opposite. We're seeing that the old people are the, crazy liberals, at least men, and then the young men are way more conservative. And we're starting to see like these old, what would I say, kind of decisions that have kind of been accepted as like, oh yeah, that's fine. Right? Like, oh yeah, the gay stuff, that's totally fine. Oh, abortion, that's totally fine. And it's like, oh, that's a super majority of America that's fine with that. It's like, well, it was, but now the young guys are going to have a bunch of kids, and you're going to see that go to a 50-50 again. Guarantee you. Because these old people are going to die, and these young guys are going to create more of themselves. So I'm not saying that the old people that are fine with gay rights and fine with the women's right to vote it's everything they've built is gonna get torn down, but it's kind of looking like it. But I mean, Cody, what is your thought on that? Isn't that weird? Like wasn't the traditional thought, at least when I was growing up, is that the old people are more conservative because your grandparents are almost always more conservative than you. But is it your life experience that now when you sit around a table with a bunch of guys, our age, let's say our friend group, take for example, that our conversations are way more conservative and right wing than what our grandparents would accept? Is that kind of generally true?
I would say becoming more so. My grandparents were pretty based.
pretty right-winged.
Yeah.
They're like, get the furnaces out.
I wouldn't say really right-winged, but just like, I mean, they were conservative, but not like crazy conservative. But but they weren't like liberals by any stretch of the imagination.
Like, they probably weren't for gay rights, but they weren't like vocally like, this is haram.
They were not for it. That is for sure.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like,
this is haram.
yeah, it wasn't like they were talking about all the time kind of deal.
Yeah.
Not like we really are.
Not like
but
the
we
young
will call it out for what it is.
The young people are like, this is over. It was a good run. It was a good run. You know, all of our grandparents and our parents could be gay and do cool stuff. No, it's. Oh no, you're going down that rabbit hole. Oh no, Cody's gonna get canceled, bro. You're really trying to get debanked. Cody, literally, his Grok search is just like.
No, we don't need to talk about it. I'm curious. I'm learning history, bro.
Bro, if you learn history, you're gonna line up on one side that gets you debanked and never get a job in Hollywood or banking.
I don't need to get a. Yeah.
Isn't that funny though? Isn't that funny how there's certain topics that's just like, you know, you don't want to jump into because we all know where it leads to. It's like. The Bible.
That's very interesting.
You know what's interesting? Jesus was based. And I know that might sound like
He was based in truth and love, and not the love you're thinking of.
More like a get a whip and beat the crap out of people kind of love, which is kind of something that, I don't know. That's just a wild story. Like, why was that in there? Why was that in there? That he drives the people out of the temple, you know, with a whip. That to me is just one of the most fascinating things that I've at least in the Bible for me. I have to study it a little bit more. Maybe for our next episode, I'll kind of do a deep dive into that. Because that's definitely an outlier in the story of Jesus. I think he just had it with him.
You're gonna do a whole bit on this guy at some point.
I will. Yep, Hirschfeld.
Yep.
I actually know all about him.
I didn't know anything about him.
It's horrific, dude. It was the first transgender clinic in Germany.
They would hand out transvestite certificates to help transgender people live as their authentic selves. And what a good guy.
This is what year? 1920s?
Yep, 1919.
1919, yep. I mean, so I'll just give you a very, very brief thing, and you guys can go look it up. It was the first time that we really see transgenderism get kind of, what would I say, revitalized as it is today, in which they're transitioning kids, they're transitioning people in general, is Germany pre-World War II, in which you just had massive, massive immorality. And then, you know, the book burnings ensued. And what's one thing that's very conveniently left out is that one of the first book burnings was the Hirschfeld's all his documents on transvestites and transitioning kids and transitioning all this stuff and this gender ideology, which was Jewish, obviously. So, you know, it's just very interesting how, you know, the Nazis come in and they say, no, that's enough. You're not allowed to do that. They book burn. And it's very interesting how we look at the book burning as such a horrific thing. And I almost think that's like such a sub element. Like, for instance, if you ask your grandparents, if I ask my grandparents or my great grandparents, were the book burnings good? You know what they would say? They'd be horrified. They'd be like, no, the book burnings were like the worst things ever. What do they burn? And they wouldn't be able to tell you. They would just say like, oh, well, there was knowledge, and they weren't they burning Bibles? You know, like no, first off. But you know, in our group, they'd be like, they were burning Ellen White stuff, you know, or whatever the story is. It was
the start of the great controversy.
Bro, the Mormons jump. They were burning Joseph Smith stuff. I was like, what's happening right now? But you know, it's just very funny how nobody knows what they burnt, but it was really bad stuff that they burnt, but yet it was some of the most evil stuff we've ever seen. And now, because we have been indoctrinated into thinking that what they burnt was good, right? It was bad that they burnt it, and what they burnt was really good material. Well, that good material is now resurfaced. And luckily, it's being rejected. And I hope it continues. I feel like people are feeling like we won the culture war. and everybody's taking their foot off the gas. Do you feel that, Cody?
I can see it.
It's kind of like everybody's like, "Oh, Daddy Trump won." Bro, he's like really immoral. Like, we need to keep the pedal on the metal on the moral stuff. Tariffs are cool, but at the same time, they're still cutting off children's wieners. Like there's. For me, if I had to choose, tariffs or Trump being extremely anti-gay and extremely militant-wise, just against transgenderism, I would totally take the anti-trans and all that, right? I would much rather him have the military go around rather than, let's say, 100% tariff on China, like just personally. And that's just more for me going, okay, economically, I know we're not in the best position, but at the same time, what am I more scared of? Well, at least raising my kids, right? I would much rather right now raise my kids in Hungary. That's not normal. That's not normal for us to be like, yeah, we have to really be careful about our kids watching anything on Netflix, right? Because there's always trannies and gay people in it. They can't. Can they consume any news? No. Can they consume any shows? No. How about Amazon? No. That's not normal. Something very not, unnatural has happened. Disney, for instance, lost almost $500 million on their last movie because they wanted to continue with this woke crap. So, anyway, that was a good rant on that. What are we doing on time? What are we?
40 minutes.
40 minutes. All right. We're gonna break down one last topic. We're gonna break down the right and the left and what's kind of going down with it.
Hurry up before I lose my vision.
Before you need to get sunglasses,
my
bro.
retinas are fried.
He didn't bring sunglasses this time.
I forgot.
Well, they're upstairs, but
they're outside.
They're outside.
Too far. I live in a first world country. I don't work.
I don't walk.
I don't walk. I get things brought to me.
Oh Lord, the poor immigrants. But no. Really what I'm seeing is this major divide between the left and the right within, I believe that there's 2 civil wars going on right now. The first civil war is on the left. And what's happened is that the university kids are the pro-Palestinians and the establishment Democrats are pro-Israel, right? Establishment, everything's pro-Israel, right? But the establishment Democrats are pro-Israel. And what's really interesting is that they're supporting all these crackdowns on campuses, stopping the protests and all these things. The Nancy Pelosi's, the Barack Obamas, those types. And to me, it's just very, very fascinating to see this kind of civil war. And I see that the left has given up, the far left, the kids, the university kids. So I feel like they've been beaten. And now the left in general is pro-Israel and is more focused about anti-Semitism and stopping it rather than, the Palestinians and the tragedy that's happening there. And that's just one thing that I thought was very, very interesting. And it looks as if the establishment and the donors and the corporate side of the Democratic Party has now crushed and now subdued the more radicals in their party. And you know what's funny? The first time I agree with the radicals on the left, the first time, because they always take the victim no matter what it is. There's no logic to what they do. They just go, oh, a victim? I'm on their side. So, like Ukraine and all these different conflicts, they're just immediately siding with the victim. Even if the victim's really evil too. It's like, no, both of them are evil. What are we doing here? But with the Palestinians, they finally get it right. Finally. And then they're like, now not really putting up that much of a fight. Why? Because the corporate... the George Soroses aren't funding their protests, So it's like, it just sucks. It really does suck.
I will say one of my favorite senators, or I guess senator, I don't know what he is. Maybe congressperson.
He's senator, yeah.
Senator it's John Kennedy. He says, I consider AOC to be the leader of the Democratic Party. I think she's the reason there are directions on a shampoo bottle. Our plan for dealing with her is Operation Let Her Speak.
Dude.
This old guy, he's
an old geezer.
Out of pocket things.
Old geezer. But yeah, so that's kind of what's happening on the left, and I think like I said, the establishment Democrats have won, and then they're continuing saying, yes, yeah, protest Elon Musk. This shows you that 90% of everything the left does, at least on their protest side, is just completely funded by extremely rich and powerful interests. Is that they're so upset about Elon Musk cutting government spending. Like, so upset. Like, you can't imagine how upset they're going in LA. They're protesting. They're running into the dealerships. They're setting it on fire. They're spray painting swastikas all over the city, all over Teslas. But yet, currently, the Palestinians are dying by the tens of thousands. Crickets. Well, that sounds fabricated to me, right? What it seems like is you're allowed to be outraged about this, but you're not outraged about this. And it just shows me that, it's not natural. And we know this because when certain funding, for instance, for the Palestinian stuff gets cut, there's no protests. But with the Elon Musk protests, for instance, and I'm not even 100% on Elon Musk's side a lot of times, but in this particular situation, it's like, yeah, I don't be destroying private property of all the Tesla owners. But in this case, you can see that the funding from George Soros and all these NGOs went to these protests, and they're paying people X amount of money to get you and your friends out there and organize the protest. So if money flows in, the leftists protest. If there's no money, they don't protest and they don't organize. So the Palestinians, well, guess what? There's no money behind that right now. So there's not that many protests, at least in Europe. In America currently, at least that the Democrats defend. Europe is a different story. Europe has imported so many Muslims into the continent that they're kind of overwhelmed. And when, they see it as an attack on Islam, if you will, happens, there's nothing that the Europeans can really do to stop the protests. And I don't think they really need any massive funding. But, yeah. Anyway, it just shows you the hypocrisy. It shows you that, these freaking retarded leftists are just outraged about Elon Musk cutting some government spending. But dead Palestinians, back burner. We'll get to that later. It's like, what are we talking about right now? It's so clear that it's not natural. It has no logical answer. And the fact that you would even for a second think about going to a Tesla protest while Israel's carpet bombing shows that you have no grasp on reality. So, as a leftist, anyway, that's the civil war that's kind of going on the left, and we can see that the establishment has completely won, and it shows that the protests that they want will happen with the far lefts because they have the pocketbook and they can just write a check. And if they don't want protests happening via protests against Israel, all right, well, we can shut it down. So anyway, very interesting. On the right wing, we are seeing a complete political realignment right now. And it really is coming down to one issue, and that is America first, or it's the globalist neocon ideals. So the globalist neocon ideals are primarily rooted in Israel, in which, hey, we need to protect Israel and God's chosen people. Charlie Kirk even said this in one of his student, what do you call that? When he goes to campuses and he debates. So when he went to campus and debated, and it was really funny. A Palestinian came up, an actual Palestinian, and he asked him about it, and he says, I'm a Christian from Palestine. I'm a Christian Palestinian. And Charlie's brain almost exploded. He was like, because the narrative is all the Palestinians are evil Muslims and they deserve to die. And then this Christian Palestinian comes up, and Charlie's just like, okay, well, do you believe that his only thing he could come up with is, do you believe that Israel is God's chosen people and that they should be defended? Do you not have a concept of the covenants? Does it not say that your father is Satan the devil? Like Jesus himself says that? It makes no sense. And he calls it, Jesus himself, quote, calls it a synagogue of Satan. So, anyway, as Christians, if you're a real Christian, you believe that there's a new covenant and that the old covenant with Israel was now passed on. And how many times did Jesus say that the Gentiles are included? Because that's that whole debate is all these Jews believing, Peter and all these guys are believing in Jewish supremacy, in which, we're here, the Gentiles are down here. We're up here, Gentiles down here. That was the whole concept of Jesus coming back, is that I am not a people group. I am not Israel. I am a church now. I am everyone who accepts me and comes to the Father through me is now the church. So that's one of the most amazing things about Christianity, is that it wasn't tied to a race. It wasn't tied to an ethnicity. And it was something that we haven't really seen before. And I think that's one of the reasons why it exploded. And we see even massive cuts out of Christianity, like Islam came out of Christianity. So even some of the major religions of the world came out of Christendom. So anyway, really, really interesting. So we're seeing this big war between the America First, who's like, we don't really care. There are some people that specifically just hate Israel because it's Israel. But the main argument from Steven Crowder, from the Tucker Carlsons, from the Candace Owens, from these guys, at least in my estimation, and myself and other people, is that, hey, it's America first. We can't be like, oh, America first, except when it comes to foreign policy, because Israel wants us to invade these countries. Or America first in foreign aid, except when it comes to Israel, or, something that Israel wants us to fund. So that's kind of where it's coming to at a head. And the America First is like, no, America first no matter what. So the America First crowd is like, let's make sure that no lobbying can happen, foreign lobbying, right? AIPAC should be put under the FAR Act. Oh my, like, uh-oh. the neocons, the Ben Shapiros, the, Charlie Kirks, all of these really dirty people, Mitt Romney, are all extremely pro that. So we're seeing a complete civil war right now on the right. The nationalists are pulling for America first no matter what. It's more Trump's crowd. And the Hodge twins, these types of guys. I don't know who wins. I don't know who wins.
Sorry.
Who do you think wins, Cody? The next election comes up. 2028 comes up, right? Do you think the America First crowd wins, or do you think the Mitch McConnell, Ben Shapiro, Dan Crenshaw wins against the Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens side? Will we even have a candidate?
I think the America First is going to win.
You think so?
But only for one more term.
One more term?
Yeah.
So you think it's going to peter out, essentially?
I think we have good momentum, and I think we're going to take that for granted. So I think it'll be one more cycle, maybe only the midterms.
Gotcha.
I think the midterms are going to be a large, kind of determining factor of what actually happens.
So you think if Republicans get killed in the midterms, do you think that actually reignites the fire?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because
I think it's going to be J.D. Vance that'll be on the ticket for 2028.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
It really looks like it, and he seems to be more of that America First mindset.
But he's not. He's like Trump, right?
Yeah.
So it's like America First in certain things, right? Except foreign policy and certain foreign aid and all that kind of stuff. So like the way that I describe it is like it's better to have them than the other guys, but at the same time, like it's kind of not though, Oh my goodness. Bro, we gotta save that because we gotta add that to our story. That's pretty good. But no. So anyway, that's the Civil War, and it's really establishment versus not establishment. That's all it comes down to. The establishment is for this neocon agenda, which is, hey, we should be involved in all these foreign wars, and the America First crowd is like, no, we are not going to be involved in it, and it's actually pretty close because remember, Nikki Haley was that neocon group, and she actually got some momentum, and she was against Trump.
Oh, I am so glad she did not become president. Oh,
I think she may come back around. It may be her versus J.D. Vance. I think J.D. Vance will win. But I don't see any truly American first candidate even being talked about right now. So I don't know who's going to run or be that person. I think J.D. Vance obviously is the closest thing to it. I don't think he necessarily is. I think he's still going to keep up, the bad foreign policy and a lot of things we don't like. However, he also is at least going to keep on with the tariffs. He's going to keep on with these, very brazen policies to put America first in certain areas, which we haven't had for a very, very long time. So I think it's good. But yeah, no, it's going to be a civil war, and we're going to see who wins. We're going to keep it up to date. But I mean, currently, it's pretty interesting. Both sides are hating. They're burning themselves from within. That's what's happening. Like Thomas Massey, on the right wing side is, conservative guy. America first, and then Trump wants to primary him. You know, it's just like, dude, can we just get somebody who just likes America? Just America. So if anybody can hear me, that's powerful. Please just put America first. Please. That's all we want in trade and foreign policy. That's all we want. We just don't want to go into more debt. We don't want to have our troops die for another country. We don't want to be funding any foreign aid to anyone. We just want America first. That's all we want. It's not that hard. We also want 0% income tax, but it's not that hard. It's not that hard.
Also, we don't want the ATF, but it's not that hard.
It's not that hard. We don't want the IRS, but it's not that hard. But no, we're gonna keep you guys updated, especially on the tariffs and stuff. I was very interested in the numbers. Next episode, we might get into that, and we might actually see what it's generating. And Trump yet again mentioned the income tax getting cut yet again. Just this past week. So he is pushing down that road. If he could get all the Republicans on board, it would be incredible. I would be personally very excited. But
yeah,
I don't know if it'll happen, you know, because he's got to get that passed through Congress. So, you know, now he does have Congress and he has the Senate by multiple seats. So the only thing is the House of Representatives. So anyway, hopefully Trump can bribe his way to get it. Hopefully AIPAC's for it. If AIPAC's for it, it's the real. It's the real.
there we go. Oh, watch it there, Caleb. Watch it. Whoa, is your heart?
My heart goes out to you.
Your heart going out to the audience.
Dude, Elon's was so it was like, it was so crazy. Like, it wasn't even just like a, you know, hi, how you doing? It was like a, and he did it twice. Oh,
Elon.
Elon's
gonna do with
so autistic. It's hilarious. He's also we'll go over that next time. He's actually having a falling out with Trump. And he's openly criticizing Trump's tariff policies currently. So
because he's losing billions of dollars.
Exactly. It happens, big bro. But anyway, sounds good, guys. Check us out on all the social medias. If you have anything that we want to cover in particular, submit it to us via, you know, just DM us on Instagram, X, wherever. And yeah, we'll get to it. So sounds good, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.